when the slave owners were compensated by the government. So I can take it to that
What
extent.
is your personal...
Oh, that's a good point, because when slavery ended, there was another reparations given, and that was to the slave owners. The government gave reparations to those who lost their slaves. So one day I'm really hoping that this will happen in my lifetime, okay? I'm hoping that one day we do not need to have the conversation about reparations. I hope one day we can just all come to an agreement that reparations needs to be paid. It is long overdue. I hope that we can come to a place to agree and get this accomplished, and we don't have to have this conversation ever again. Because constantly, and we're gonna watch this interview with Piers Morgan, everybody and their mama seems to have their own 2 cents when it comes to reparations, and one constant argument is it was in the past. I didn't do it. You weren't in slavery. We said we were sorry. Really? That's your argument? If any of those arguments, those played out talking points, is your argument, this is the video for you. Let's go ahead and watch this interview, and we're gonna have that conversation.
Out, our monarchy out, our mad King George dropped the ball. Otherwise, I would possibly be King Piers right now of the United States of America. So we don't obviously celebrate it with quite such enthusiasm over this side of the pond. But amid the hot dogs and fireworks, even this day of patriotic celebration in the States has become divisive. There's a growing trend for Black Americans to celebrate Juneteenth as an alternative to July 4th. Veteran Congresswoman Maxine Waters in 2021 claimed the Declaration of Independence wasn't for equality and it was only for white men. Her comments were echoed by her fellow Democrat Cori Bush, who said black people...
What's not factual about that? Is she just making that up? Like, did she just like wake up one morning and just put that information just out of thin air? Do we know who Frederick Douglass? Come on, Jesus Christ, man! Recently,
people still aren't free. So is there something in all this?
Oh, Jesus Christ, man!
And occasions, the opportunities for reflection and apology rather than celebration. Well, joining me now is best-selling author of The War on the West and Conservative commentator Douglas Murray, country music legend Lee Greenwood, and my Talk TV contributor Paula Rowan Adrian, and Talk TV presenter Richard Tice. All right, well, a stellar panel.
So just judging off this panel, okay, we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 old as hell white men and 1 black woman. You can already know how this conversation is gonna go. I'm not a fan of stereotypes, but if we had to stereotype the hell out of this panel, you already know how this conversation is going to go. You already know who's going to be on what sides. And, you know, I guess that's just how we do these debates, huh?
Douglas, let me start with you. You read a great piece this week for The Telegraph about this weird trend. I agree with you. I think it's weird.
Where
we're being
trend.
compelled to just apologise constantly for everything that happened in the past. Why are we doing this?
That's right. It's a very strange act of masochism, really, and an act of masochism carried out by people who don't seem to know anything. I mean, people talk about the British monarchy having to apologise for slavery. It was King George III who signed the Anti-Slavery Act into law in 1807. Prince Albert gave one of the most extraordinary anti-slavery addresses when the British were still policing the anti-slave trade on the high seas in 1840 to the Anti-Slavery League in London. All of this was addressed 200 years ago, And today, unfortunately, there's a kind of new type of malcontent, and usually also a huckster to boot, who just decides that none of this happened. Usually it's because they don't know it happened. And as a result, they look at our history and everything in our country, right up to just, innocent pastimes like cricket, and they decide to name everything as guilty. And, you could do this to everyone and to everything, but most civilizations and cultures don't behave like this because most of them aren't just masochistic and so self-hating.
Masochistic,
Right.
okay. Learned a new word,
Your response to that?
masochistic.
I actually agree with Douglas about the fact that we don't know enough. He's absolutely right. We don't know enough, and it's important that we do. But part of the knowledge is also understanding the hurt and pain that were caused, not just about the good things. It's not just about the cherry picking. And wrongs are not about being masochistic. Saying sorry is not a bad thing. Saying sorry is actually a very empowering thing to do.
Why does it matter that a bunch of royals now get forced into issuing grovelling apology? Who cares? How does it change anything? It doesn't do anything, in my estimation, to impact on current slavery, where it exists around the world. It doesn't really make any difference to institutional racism, as we've seen in certain parts of society. I don't know what difference it makes. It might make people feel a bit better to see a royal grovelling, but so what?
See, I don't agree with you, surprise, surprise. I do think it makes a difference. I do think it makes a difference that people in power are heard to acknowledge pain and hurt. I do think it's important that people in power have taken the time.
But whose pain and hurt are you talking about? It's not people living today. These are going back hundreds of years in some cases, these crimes of slavery and so on. We all agree it was outrageous. It's been debated, really year after year after year. We all know this. I don't think that people have a lack of knowledge. And I'm not quite sure where the apology tour ends. What's the end game here?
So the end game is about...
Okay, so let me just interject right here. Okay, so here in America, we've had this conversation, this debate, this discussion for years and years and years. Pierce is right about that, all right? And I'm pretty sure where he's at, pretty sure they had the same conversation. But here in America, I and many others are tired of having the conversation. For lack of a better word, cut the check. We're beyond. You said that you understand that slavery and Jim Crow and segregation and everything that led after slavery was egregious and is something that shouldn't have happened. Cut the check. Reparations means restitution. I don't understand what the big fuss is. If it was handled 200 something years ago when the whole 40 acres and a mule came from, please look that up if you don't know what that is. If reparations was handled then, we wouldn't have the conversation now. But we just keep on kicking the can down the road every single year. So every single year we're going to have the same conversation. If when you were a kid and your parents told you to clean your room, the next hour they realize your room wasn't clean, they're going to tell you again. The next hour your room is not clean, they might whoop you. Do you see at some point you have to clean your room or your parents are going to continue to bug you and consequences going to essentially happen. And that's where we're at today. So Pierce is right. We're done having a conversation. Cut the check, essentially.
The ability to understand the true history, not just the part of history that we have been taught. And that is the difficulty. So you're talking about who's the apology for. Well, the apology is for me. The apology is for those who have suffered. The apology is for those who continue to struggle through colonialism and through slavery. And I do think that it's important that royalty are coming forward and saying, we apologise for the part that we played.
So is that it? Is that enough? When is enough enough? If we all say sorry today, hang on.
The British government, when is enough enough to repay, to compensate slave owners?
So if we all say sorry
when is
today,
enough?
Well, that's my question to you, and you're not answering it.
When
my point
reparations
is, if we all say sorry today, it was terrible, which we all know.
Yeah.
Can we then say, right, that's done. We're going to look forwards. We're going to be positive. We're going to celebrate our achievements, learn from our failures, and we're done with apologising.
Absolutely. And so how are we going to learn from our failures if we do not understand what we did wrong?
You learn from your failures because that's what we're doing at the moment. The sort of
No. Okay. Once again, and it's the same argument that they have here in America is we say we were sorry. We're quote unquote learning from the past, and a lot of these idiots don't even know about the past. So it's kind of weird that they're saying they're learning from the past. And Vivek himself is planning on, once he becomes president, he wants to roll back voting privileges, which my ancestors fought for. But I mean, that's weird. So it's like, what history are you guys learning from and trying not to repeat it again? Because the Republican Party is in the process of turning back time, essentially. So it doesn't make any sense.
How do you learn from your failures if you don't know what you did wrong? If you refuse to accept that you did wrong?
Because the cricket board, the ECB, they've just produced a report. They've reported. Some of it was good. Some of it you can criticise or question. The point is, we've learned from that. We're moving on. We're celebrating. We're being positive. Otherwise,
how have we learned
I tell you
from
what
the
it does.
report?
It depresses everybody. It leads to a perception of decline.
I agree with that. I think what it does, I want to bring in Lee Greenwood here, who's a big country star in America.
Oh, here we go.
He wrote God Bless the USA, one of the great anthems celebrating the United States. It's July 4th. Obviously, as I said at the start here, Lee, we don't celebrate it with quite such enthusiasm this side of the pond. We sort of take a view that Mad King George dropped the ball a bit, but I'm happy for my American friends that you have this day to celebrate. You wrote this great anthem, really, for your country. Can we be proud of our country anymore? Or is this kind of this desire to feel this terrible regret about everything and apology for everything? Does that mar the pride? How do you feel?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say the people that I run with and talk to, and believe me, I tour across America all the time. We do 140, 50 days a year, every doghouse, outhouse, and roundhouse. And I talk to the American public. They listen to what I say, listen to what I sing. I happen to be a country music performer, but I was born in California, spent 20 years in Nevada. I live
there it is. That's the country he's talking to. Because I ain't never seen this dude walk up in where I live. He ain't talking to me. And if you a person, he ain't talking to you either. So I don't understand. We was like, well, we tour, 130, 150 days out the year to every liquor store and this and this and this. So you're only talking to the people that look like you, and that's a very small few. So what is that supposed to mean? But, I digress.
I happen to be a country music performer, but I was born in California, spent 20 years in Nevada. I live in the South now, and I wrote this song because it was for unity. It's a unity and for military sacrifice. And yeah, America started as an interesting expedition, then an experiment, and we fought it out. We fought each other in the Civil War and said, okay, we're going to bury the hatchet here. The trouble is, as we move...
what about emancipation and the effects after that? Even though laws were put into place, a lot of the South didn't abide by it. There's a hatchet. There was no hatchet to be buried. What do you segregation? Redlining? What hatchet was buried? I don't get it. Maybe if you spent time talking to the rest of Americans, maybe you will understand this hatchet hasn't been buried. But of course, when you're walking around with shades on to look at a perspective of America that you want to look at, of course you'll say something stupid as, America buried the hatchet after the Civil War. Okay, yeah, they just assassinated Abraham Lincoln for no reason. Yeah. Good old hatchet buried, huh?
Forward, a lot of people try to change history. I'm okay with history.
Wait,
The trouble
what?
is, as we move forward, a lot of people try to change hiry. I'm okay with the
Wait,
hatchet here.
what?
The trouble is, as we move forward, a lot of people try to change history. I'm okay with history. I'm okay with
Try to who's trying to change? DeSantis? Is he talking about DeSantis trying to because the only history we trying to proclaim is actual history. Who's trying to change history? That's a weird one. Okay, I got you.
Apologizing for what happened back then. But I agree with you. That was back then. Let's move forward. Let's move on past that. And let's not change history and try to change what happened.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, so once again, I hate it when people say, let's just move forward. Let's just sweep it under the rug, bury the hatchet, as this young man likes to say. I hate to say this. What if I want? Okay, I've been doing a lot of hoping and praying today to individuals like this. I want one of his kids, because I'm pretty sure he has kids, to get beaten, mistreated, abused in every way, shape, and form, kidnapped. And I want his kids to lose everything they have. Every single penny they have, I want them to lose. And then when they catch the perpetrators, okay? When they catch the perpetrators and he's sitting in court, or her, whoever, I just want the person to say, I'm sorry. Just say, you know what? I'm sorry. It was the past. Can we all just move forward? Can we just move forward? I guarantee you, this guy right here ain't gonna have that. No, he wants justice to be served. Well, it's the same with slavery. That wasn't just for a couple of months. It wasn't just, a couple of families. It was generations. 200 plus years. How many generations is 200 plus years when the average lifespan of a slave was like 30, 40 years old? It wasn't like today, like 60, 70, 80. There was no old slaves. There was no such thing as an old ass slave. And if you was, power to you. But the average wasn't that high. So how many generations is 200 something years, and not including Jim Crow era, after emancipation? But we're just to let that just let it go, huh? No. That would be disrespectful to my ancestors if I just had, hey, let's just forget about the past, right? Like, my ancestors died for no reason, and that's okay, because this country guy just wants me to LIG it, okay? He wants me to LIG it and move forward for his sake.
Agree. Douglas, the problem is we've forgotten how to be genuinely proud of our great countries, both America and the United Kingdom, two of the greatest countries in the world. It's almost like every day now, somebody somewhere, normally on the left, the woke left, is queuing up to find a reason to hate the countries and their histories.
Well, it's
you know what? Hey, you don't have to talk. I got this. Okay, first off, to be educated in a Black American today is to have a critiquing of America today. That doesn't mean you hate your country. Like, where are they getting these words from? Because I never said I hate my country. I have strong critiquings because I know where my country was. I know what my ancestors and our allies did to get us to where we're at today. And I see a lot of things that can be fixed for generations to come. Does that mean I hate my country? No, it doesn't. Like, there's the answer. If you're too stupid to understand the answer to that question, just because you have an opinion critiquing on how to make your country better doesn't mean you hate your country. And if anybody should be loving this country, it's black folks. Because like I say, millions of folks died so I can just be sitting here in my air-conditioned room with 2-3 cameras in a beautiful setup here. My ancestors died for me today. So who's upset? I'm proud. Who's the victim? I know that I have generations before me of victorious people. Who am I ashamed of? Why am I not proud of that? I don't know. I don't know if they talking to the right black people.
It's a kind of grievance competition. Your guest earlier just tried to engage in it. I don't know what hurt she believes she's had from slavery. All of this was addressed 2 centuries ago. Everything has consequences. All history has
You're
consequences
right about that.
and ramifications. But, you know, if we were to play...
You know what? He is 100% right about that, because the reason why people are upset now is because the consequences of slavery, of free labor, of the effects of emancipation and Jim Crow and redlining and segregation when it comes to housing, healthcare, jobs, that has an effect on the future. And like I said, this wasn't just a couple of months of some bad things that happened. This was years, decades, brother, decades, centuries, okay, of abusing a group of people. And you think there's no consequences of that? There's no effects. There's a cause and effect. You don't think that's going to lead a negative effect on some of these people? And we paid indigenous people reparations. We paid Japanese reparations. We paid Jewish people reparations. Oh, but when it comes to black folks, the folks that built this country and got us the freedoms that we all can love and enjoy today, no reparations. You just gotta LIG it. You just gotta let it go, huh? Wow, that's weird. Okay, got you.
This fairly, we would at least look at all of the countries around the world that engaged in the slave trade who are simply not interested in any form of reparations. The Ottoman Empire, all the Arab countries who not just traded far more slaves than across the Atlantic, but castrated all the men so that there wouldn't be any more African slaves after them. They worked them to the bone. I see no interest across Africa in paying reparations for selling their brother and sister Africans into slavery.
Whoa, I got your answer for that. Whoa. You talking to the wrong brother when it comes to this. First off, when we get our reparations here, oh, trust me, Africa, and we're going to figure out exactly what tribes, what countries in Africa participated in selling their own brothers and sisters. Oh, we coming for them. And it may not just be, it may not just be in the cash sense, but we going to call them out. Hey, you think it's just a one-stop, just cut the check and that's it? No, we gonna go back and we gonna make sure the whole world knows who sold their own brothers and sisters. Oh, trust me.
Or for working them to the bone to the present day. There is slavery across Africa today. In fact, there are more slaves in the world today than there were at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. So some of us are simply a bit bored of hearing people ripping at closed wounds and then crying about their hurt or their presumed hurt. Because everybody could do this. 1 million Europeans were stolen by North Africans over the course of decades of the North African Barbary pirate slave trade. Where would you end if you did that? The answer...
Did that group of people enslave them for 200 plus years and just make a killing when it comes to free labor and the free capitalism that came out of that? No, because America was number one when it comes to that. So your answer is no. So yeah, slavery happened everywhere. Yes, I get it. I know. But no one did it like America. No, I mean, when it comes to America, America is gangster. America is going to be number one in everything. And America was number one when it came to slavery, and they were number 2. Sadly enough, America was number 2 when it came to ending slavery. Whoa, I know that's a surprise. A lot of these other countries that participated in slavery, it was done. But America's like, no, we making this money, baby. We got to keep this going. And then, of course, when slavery, quote unquote, ended, then we have prisons, and then we got a lot of other forms of abusing and taking advantage of brown people. So it's like, what are you trying to prove, huh? Because if you talk about America and slavery, ain't nobody coming close to that. Nobody coming close when it comes to the free labor and just the amount of capital they were able to obtain for. Bro, you crazy. You crazy.
The answer is you couldn't end, because nobody is alive who has actually suffered the hurt, and nobody is alive who did the wrong. And I'd make one other point, if I may.
No, you can't. I see old boy right here just shaking his head like, yeah, nobody is alive. Well, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Like I said, if we were able to get this done way back then, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But a lot of racist, greedy people didn't allow that to happen. Look it up. The whole 10 acres in a mule, anchor in a mule. It wasn't given. It actually was given and then taken back, and then they were kicked off the land. Like it's a weird, but understanding back in that time, that's what happened. And now we're still having this conversation today. So come on, cry me a river.
Always the countries that people want to come to who are put through this struggle session. Britain, like America and France, are the most desired destinations for migrants worldwide, and have been for centuries. Why is that? It's not because we're racist, it's because we're better. It's because we're good. It's because when we see racism, we actually call it out and recognize it as a sin. Try finding...
Hey, in here in America, because I can't speak for the United Kingdom, but here in America, how do you think that happened? Do you think black folks were just like waiting for a savior and just waiting to be saved? No, we fought for that. We protested. We continued to put our lives on the line. So this just didn't happen overnight. What history books is he reading? And people want to come to this country because of what black folks was able to accomplish here in America. Because I guarantee you, if we didn't have the Martin Luther Kings, the Frederick Douglasses, the Booker T. Washingtons, if we didn't have individuals like this to progress America and force America to be what it is today, it wouldn't be that desirable, especially to other brown people. It wouldn't. Sorry to kind of burst your bubble on that one, but it wouldn't be the most desirable place.
That across Africa. Try finding that across the Middle East or in China. Nobody would hear. So what we have is a situation where the more virtuous countries are presented as the worst countries. It's sick, and most of us are tired of it.
Thank you, Douglas.
I am so sorry that Douglas is bored by the pain that has come from.
That's not what he said.
Through slavery.
He didn't say.
I'm
he
so
didn't
tired.
say. But what you're doing there, yeah, but hang on, Paula. Paula, you're being very
bothered.
disingenuous. That's not what he said.
I am.
And
And I
viewers
think
aren't
if you
stupid.
read his
They know exactly what he said. He's not saying he's bored by the pain. He's saying, and I think
He's
it's a
bored
perfectly
by the
valid point.
conversation.
The pain that people who are alive today are claiming they're suffering for what happened 200 or 300 years, it's not a real pain. They're not the ones who suffered what was going on 200 or 300 years ago.
So in terms.
So my question is, what was the restitutions that was given back then? If this pain was so egregious and we all can understand it, what was the restitution for it? I'll wait. Don't worry. Somebody's going to answer in the comments right now what restitutions were given back then after slavery, after emancipation. Oh yeah, I guarantee you no one's going to timestamp right here, because if you're talking about some of the rights that were given, guess what? A lot of, well, throughout the whole country, but definitely throughout the South, no one cared about that. It was still racism and segregation and everything you could think of, lynching and everything still happening, despite whatever amendment you want to bring up. Yeah. No land, nothing of value was given to slaves after they were free. Jeez, whoo, man, come on, put me on the show. Put me on the show.
Well, I'm not suffering from when the Normans invaded this country. I'm not suffering from what my ancestors went through.
I noticed that I'm not being allowed to respond.
Or from the Romans. In other words, where do you take this? I mean, should I now be feeling pain from what the Romans did to this country?
In terms of slavery, I can take it to 2015, when the slave owners were compensated by the government. So I can take it to that.
What is your personal...
Oh, that's a good point. Because when slavery ended, there was another reparations given, and that was to the slave owners. The government gave reparations to those who lost their slaves. It is hard for me to have a serious conversation with anyone after, and this is the thing, when you're partaking in a lot of knowledge, when it comes to American history, because it runs deep. It's not just one book you can read to obtain the entire gravity of American history. White slave owners were given reparations for the loss of their slaves. Let me kick my feet up here. Can somebody make that make sense? But we want to sit here and have this whole entire conversation, and you feel nothing is owed to the slaves? Oh, but they're all dead now. Well, whose fault is that? Because I'm pretty sure the slave owners got their money quick. They didn't have to have this whole big conversation and protest. Like, no, they cut the check quick. Bro, all I gotta say is cut the check. Cut the check. At this point, we will be responsible in whatever we get. But anyone who wants to argue reparations is a pure, smooth-brained idiot. I'm saying it now. And I'm not going to waste my time having that conversation with you in the comments, because you are clearly not educated, and I'm not going to waste my precious God-given time on you. So normally at the end of my videos, I would say, hey, let me know in the comments, let's have it. But no, if you are not educated and you have not read at least 2-3 history books regarding slavery and its impact then and today, I'm not going to have that conversation with you. That easy. So once again, I need you to list some of the books and references and sources, credible sources, that you have when it comes to information you're going to give me when it comes to being against reparations. But if you can't do that, we're not going to have that conversation.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people. Power to the pod.